Imagine a low-cost, rapid antigen test for COVID-19 you can do at home without a doctor's prescription. Now that would be awesome, right? Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal and I want to welcome you once again to my weekly video update. It seems like the innovation in the medical industry continues to go on at lightning speed. We now have 2 vaccines authorized for emergency use by the FDA, and millions of vaccinations have already taken place. We have hundreds of tests available for COVID-19. And these innovations have happened very quickly. It's amazing. I've talked about these topics in my videos and you can find them on my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to focus on this great news, great innovation that has just been authorized by the FDA. It is for a rapid antigen test that can be done at home and also with very young children, and it does not require a doctor's prescription. So it can be done broadly and quickly when it's available in your pharmacy in a very near future. So I want to talk about this test, cover its basic features, give you a sense of how it's used, what are some of the steps involved. More importantly, focus on its clinical performance data that has been published. And in the end, I want to share with you some thoughts about how to understand the results that you get out of these rapid antigen tests. I'm often asked by people who watch my video a question something like this. Hey, I did not have any symptoms. I took this rapid antigen test and it came out positive. Then I took another test that came out negative. What does it mean? I'm very confused. So there's a lot of confusion. So I want to share with you some thoughts about what the results might mean in your scenario. Now, to really understand it well and plan your next course of action, you must talk to your doctor because that is your most reliable source of information. But looking at this video and understanding how the test works, what the results mean and what they don't mean, you can have an idea about how to make an interpretation of the result that might come out of it. And most importantly, what questions to ask your doctor. So let's look into this test in the following slides. So far, 306 tests have been authorized by the FDA. Most of them are RT-PCR tests, and these tests detect the viral RNA. They are more accurate but take longer. 32 of these tests are indicated for at-home collection, but testing is done in a lab. So they're really not at-home tests. Antibody tests about 62, and 11 antigen tests have been authorized. This specific test is a rapid antigen test that can be done at home, and it belongs to the 3rd category of antigen tests. Okay, so this is the first at-home non-prescription test. It comes from a company called Ellume in Australia. Amazing innovation that they have rapidly deployed for use in COVID-19. The technique is lateral flow immunoassay, very similar to the pregnancy test. Samples are self-collected nasal swab. Users are adults 16 years and older who can self-collect, or children 2 to 15 years old where an adult needs to collect the sample. Target is a viral antigen. N means the nucleocapsid protein. This protein is the surrounding protein around the RNA. Remember, the test does not detect the RNA. It detects the presence of this viral protein. It's a very specific protein to this particular virus. Most antigen tests are working that way. The instrument is a smartphone-assisted single-use analyzer strip. Smartphone is playing a very big role, and I'll explain to you how. Time to result is within 15 minutes. Availability and cost, as you can imagine, there'll be a very high demand for this, and they're going to ramp up production, and they're projecting that these tests will become available at a pharmacy near you beginning early 2021, and the cost will be under $30 per test. So it's not too expensive. Okay, it's a very simple design, few steps, and it has internal controls. So first, let's look at the components. These components are here. As you can see, there is a nasal swab collector. There's an adapter for children. There is a tube containing a processing fluid, a dropper, and an analyzer strip. Okay, steps are simple. Number 1, unbox and confirm that you have all the components. 2, download the app. You can use an iOS platform like an iPhone or Android like Google phones. Answer a few questions in the app, and that helps them figure out where to transmit the information to your healthcare provider or other reporting agencies. Number 4, watch the information video. Number 5, follow step-by-step instructions, and they're very simple. You first have to open this tube and mix this liquid processing fluid inside this dropper. And the reason you have to do that is because the dropper has a coating of a special material. That material has fluorophores, meaning these are compounds that will attach to the viral antigen and create a fluorescent signals when they are captured by the analyzer strip. That's a very important step. Then you basically collect the sample, put the sample into this dropper, let it sit for a while, and then add a few drops into this port, and then you have the result. And the result is not reading a line like other tests. The result is displayed on the screen of your iPhone or an Android phone. Either you are positive or negative, or you have an error. The error can come because of these internal controls and other fail-safe mechanisms. So internal controls. The first control is something that detects the presence or absence of human markers in nasal sample. That means you should have used a nasal sample, not something else. And you should have used enough for this control to be positive so that the test does not give you an error. If it's not enough or some other sample is used, you will get an error. Second control is a biological reagent that is sensitive to extreme temperatures. So it's inactivated. And the error is reported if the product is exposed to extreme temperatures and this control is not activated. And there are other controls for operation. For example, if you attempt to use the strip more than once, you will get an error. So those are some of the built-in fail-safe mechanisms to provide more reliable information to the user in a very simple way. And these are some great features. Okay, let's look at the clinical evaluation data. Good thing about this data set is that it is broken up by symptomatic patients and asymptomatic patients. So we can see the performance separately and together. First, symptomatic patients. So they are reporting a positive agreement of about 96%. Only 1 out of 26 was a false negative. And none out of a total of 38 were false positives. So it's a pretty good 96% positive agreement, 100% negative agreement, very good performance compared to other antigen tests for symptomatic patients. Now, now I also do PPV, positive predictive value, and negative predictive value at a certain disease prevalence rate. And I always do at 5% disease prevalence. Positive predictive value is 100%. If you are symptomatic and you get a positive result, nearly 100% chance that it's a true positive. Negative predictive value is 99.8%. Again, if you are symptomatic and you get a negative result, you don't have COVID, you have probably something else. Asymptomatic patients, again, good results, but not as good because again, these are asymptomatic subjects. Positive agreement of about 91%, negative agreement of 96%, PPV is 54%. So half of the time, if you get positive, it could be a false positive, half of the time. Negative predictive value is 99.5%. So if you get a negative, very, very high chance that you don't have COVID. All subjects, positive agreement is 95%, negative agreement is 97%. This is combined data. So PPV comes out to around 62% and NPV comes out to 99.7%. So these are not bad results. Actually, they're very good results because if you compare it to another test, Abbott's Binax Now, which also now have at-home indication. However, that is still, it requires prescription from the doctor and should be observed through a telehealth proctor. So it's not non-prescription, but that's the closest we can use for a comparative analysis. That particular test is showing positive agreement in about high 80s, high 80%, but very good negative agreement. So typically rapid antigen tests have about high 80s positive agreement, but very good negative agreement. Compared to that test, this data is looking very good. Now we have to, this is controlled information, right? Controlled analysis, controlled subjects, controlled samples in a way. We have to see what is the true performance in the field after many, many more tests have been done. And I'll be keeping an eye on that. Good news here is that up to about 6 days after symptoms appear, both positive and negative agreements are 100%. So if you have symptoms and if you take this test and you get a positive result, you can be 100% confident, almost 100% confident that you have a positive COVID result. And similarly, if you get a negative result, very high amount of confidence that you don't have COVID, you have something else. So let's talk about what these results mean. You have 4 scenarios. You have symptoms, you could be negative or positive. You do not have symptoms, you could be negative or positive. So if you have symptoms and if you have negative result, very low chance of a false negative. May have another infection. If you are positive, it's a very, very high chance when you have symptoms that you have COVID-19. Now, if you do not have symptoms and you come out negative, it's a very high chance of true negative. But you must consider your exposure history, other clinical conditions, and you must talk to a doctor whether you should do a second test or not. But if you don't have symptoms and you are positive, you should definitely consider a second positive test because there are moderate chance, only a moderate chance that you have a false positive. So to confirm, do a test with RT-PCR as a confirmation. More importantly, the IFU, the instruction for you, says that if you are asymptomatic, you must pay even more attention to following all the instructions exactly and collect sufficient samples. In some of the studies, they received a high percentage of invalid results because not enough sample was collected for asymptomatic subjects. And what they are saying is that if you're asymptomatic, make sure you follow these instructions exactly and collect sufficient sample. So this looks very good, right? But keep in mind, this is only limited information, close to about 200 subjects, results from 200 subjects. We will wait to see how it performs in real life. But all indications are that the test should work. And it's quite reliable, very easy to do. So these are all good news. And again, another example of great innovation from the medical industry to support our fight against COVID-19. I want to hear from you. Continue to send me your questions, comments, and thoughts. I love to engage with you. It helps me understand the field even better and offer you my helpful suggestions that you can use to ask the right questions to your doctor. That's my intent here. I really want to thank you for your interest and engagement, and I hope all of you are staying safe in these difficult circumstances.